we're making good progress here. Now we're going to take a look at some of that auto-tagging functionality. Now I sort of glossed over that before, did some hand waving, but the auto-tagging filter is actually very powerful, and that's what you're really going to be using to automate a lot of your work. So imagine that we have phone bills that come in every month, and they always look the same when we import them, and we wonder to ourselves, why is it that I have to keep selecting my phone bill and marking it as utilities? Every time I import transactions, I don't want to have to do that. Well, you shouldn't have to. So let's clear out a filter, and we're going to make a new filter for phone bills here. So I've got no filters currently saved up here, so I'm going to put in name contains phone bill. Now, I already know the name of this in advance, so I'm kind of cheating here. Normally, you would have to find the name that it usually comes up as and make one yourself, but I'll say phone bill here. Okay, so I'm going to filter out only transactions that have a name that contains phone bill. Okay, so let's add a filter. And this time, what I'm going to do, I'm going to say my phone bills as the name. And here I'm going to select AutoTag as and select utilities. All right, so what does that mean for us? Okay, so we have no transactions right now. I'll clear out the filter, still nothing showing. So I'm going to drag in some OFX transactions that I've downloaded previously. So I bring these over, and look at that. All right, so this will look very familiar to you guys by now. But you'll see in here we have a transaction by the name of phone bill, and notice that even though this is a brand new transaction, it has already been tagged very helpfully as utilities for us, and that is because it matched this filter. So if I examine this filter here, and if I select it, you'll notice the only transaction that shows up is this one right here, and you'll notice that it's been marked as utilities as a result. Now, the actual auto tagging setup for each of your filters is not shown here. It's actually shown inside of this Manage Auto Tags window. Now, this is one function that's not really displayed outright on the interface here. Now, that may change in the future, but for now, you manage your auto tags in here. So if I click that, you'll notice it brings up a list of all of my filters. Now, if I select the My Phone Bills filter, it says here, AutoTag as and utilities. So I'm going to drag in another OFX file that I have here. I'm going to clear out this filter to show everything. I drag in another one. All right, so this new one added, you'll see there's a little status update down there. It said imported one transaction from one file and didn't find any duplicates. Actually, it's an interesting note. If I drag in the same file again, you'll say imported 0 transactions from one file, ignored 1 duplicate. So it realizes that you've already imported the transactions from that file. And if I drag in the old one again, it'll say ignored 6 duplicates. So it's not going to keep importing over transactions. But the thing that I wanted you to see there is that as I brought in that new phone bill, again, it was marked as utilities. Now, let's do a little test here. We can put in as many tags as we want. So I'm going to delete these transactions. I only have so many to work with. So let's delete the new sweater here. And I'm going to put in name contains sweater. And I'm going to say sweaters, because I purchase a lot of sweaters. And I'm going to auto tag those as clothing. So I'm going to clear this out again. Now, that transaction was part of that older set, so if I drag these in again, new sweater appears, and now it's been tagged as clothing for us. So what you're going to do over time, these filters are saved within your file. So if I save this data and select my data, sure, I'm going to overwrite that other one. You should be careful with these data files. So I overwrite that, and these are now saved. So anytime I want, I'm going to build up these filters, basically, to create a list of things that are unique to me. So now every time I import new sweater purchases or new phone bill purchases, they're automatically going to be tagged appropriately. So we can set up any kind of flexible filter that we want. Let's say name contains McDonald's and you eat there a lot, so you can save that as food. Anything you want. It's really up to you. So you can take control of any transactions that occur frequently and mark them automatically for yourself. So that's a very handy thing to be able to do. So that's a bit of an overview of how to actually use your filters and that auto tagging capability. Now, one more note, if I open up here, you'll see that there's a certain move up and move down priority. Now, this is getting into some pretty nitpicky stuff, but you can reorganize your filters. So if you want something, let's say a certain transaction matches multiple filters, it will be tagged according to the filter which is closest to the top. So if any transaction that contains an A, you mark as tag this contains an A. Let's say you created a tag like that. Then you're going to be marking a lot of transactions as tag A. So in order to get more specific, you may move up the priority list another filter which will then retag it as something else. Now, that's a pretty rare occurrence, and you probably shouldn't be setting up filters that include multiple transactions in the first place, but in case you do, you can control the ordering of that right there. And if you want to turn off auto tagging, you can just turn it off like that and say OK, and that will be saved. So it will no longer auto tag things according to that filter. You can always turn it back on again for a filter if you wish at a later date. So I'll put this back to utilities, and now we're in good shape.